25, 30. Anziki frowned, counting the only money left in her pocket. With a loud boom, the fragile door was kicked open from the outside. Several people in black rushed in with a paint bucket. Without a word, they started splashing paint and smashing things in the house. Stop, stop! Anziki hurriedly got up and rushed over, desperately trying to stop them. Yaminzi heard the movement and hurriedly walked out of the back room. Seeing this situation, Yaminzi stepped forward to stop him anxiously. Go away, dead woman! A man in black kicked Yaminzi to the ground. Mom! Anziki yelled anxiously and opened her mouth to bite hard to grasp her arm. When the person let go, she hurried forward to help Yaminzi and carefully guarded her behind her back. Those people smashed enough, and then left leisurely. Before leaving, they didn't forget to threaten loudly, tell Angwabang, if you don't pay the money again, next time you see him, you will remove his leg. Anziki sighed. Since her family's company went bankrupt, her father got into the gambling habit. He spent all his family's savings and borrowed usury everywhere. What can she do to stand such an irresponsible father? Soothed Yaminzi, then tidied up the messy house that had been smashed, washed off the paint all over, and walked out the door with heavy steps. After walking around the street for a long time, but did not find a suitable part-time job, Anziki sat down on the stone bench on the roadside, somewhat depressed. Do you want her to find a domineering president to be a lover like the heroine in those novels? Anziki smiled bitterly. I'm afraid that even if she really wants to, there won't be an overbearing president from the sky. Being distressed, a brake sound suddenly rang in her ears. Anziki looked up hurriedly and saw a black Porsche stopping in front of her. The car door opened slowly, and a little boy about 4 or 5 years old got out of the car. The exquisite facial features are as cute as a doll, wearing a straight little dress, walking up to her gracefully. Watching her speak solemnly, Anziki, I want to talk to you. Anziki looked at him inexplicably. Little guy, have you admitted the wrong person? The little boy raised his eyebrows and continued, Anziki, age 23, height 168 centimeters, weight 48 kilograms, mother Yaminzi, younger sister Anziking, studying at. Little guy, who are you? Anziki couldn't help being a little dumbfounded. This is Xiao Yining, Anziki, let's find a place to talk. Half an hour later, Anziki appeared in the revolving restaurant on the top floor of Jindi building. She didn't know why she promised Xiao Yining to come here to talk about things. There was an inexplicable intimacy in Xiao Yining, which always made her want to get closer. Looking at the pedestrians and vehicles moving like ants under the window, as the top restaurant in S City, drinking a mouthful of water here would cost their family a month's living expenses. Anziki felt a little dry mouth for no apparent reason, so she took a sip of water from her cup. Little friend Xiao Yining, now you can tell me, what's the matter with me? Xiao Yining looked at her and said seriously. Anziki, I want to support you. Get up, early birds get worms, get up quickly, early birds get worms. The alarm clock on the phone went off on time. Anziki habitually raised her hand and touched it towards the head of the bed. But the whole body seemed to be firmly imprisoned by something, so it couldn't move. He opened his eyes in a daze, and a delicate face appeared in front of him. The fair and delicate skin can't even detect the pores, like a perfect work of art. Is she in a dream? It's nice to dream of such eye-catching benefits. Anziki smirked and couldn't help but touched Mei Nan's face twice. Well, it feels really good. Feeling comfortable, his wrist was suddenly severely grasped, and Mei Nan slowly opened his eyes. What are you doing? The beautiful man asked with squinting eyes. Oh, kind of arrogant. Anziki pulled away his hand and squeezed his face again. Small, in Grandma's dream, can you still be bullied by you? She pulled Mei Nan's cheek back and forth, tearing the flesh on his cheek into a pie, and then let it go and bounced back to its original shape. The flexibility is good. I will give you 99 points, and one more point for fear that you will be proud. Anziki said proudly. Mainan's face was completely gloomy, and Anziki kicked off the bed with one kick. Why does it hurt so much, Anziki? You are too useless, you can be bullied in your dreams. Anziki muttered, and finally felt something was wrong. In a dream? Why does it hurt so much? Also, how can dreams be so real? His body was full of bruises. All of this, I told her plainly that last night they rascal, go to death. Anziki shyly pulled the quilt around herself, screaming and kicked the beautiful man fiercely. Xiaomoli raised his hand and quickly grabbed her kicked ankle. Using both hands at the same time, she threw her aside mercilessly. Getting up from the bed, he quickly pulled up the sheets and wrapped it around his waist. Who told you to count me? His tone was cold, and his face was gloomy and cold. The whole person exudes a powerful and dangerous aura. Anziki's scared body shrank involuntarily. Bite the scalp and speak. I count you? I still want to know, why did you show up in my bed? At the end, he became a little more justified. Damn, your face is gloomy, your sister. She is obviously the one who suffers. Why is he posing like San Zhenju Lai? She should be the one with the most ugly expression. You on the bed? Open your eyes and see clearly, this is my home, this is my bed. Xiaomoli's ugly face was almost frozen. With murderous eyes, I want to cut her 1,000 times. Anziki took a closer look. Well, this is indeed not her bed. Hey? Wait, what's the situation? How could she appear here? Stupid woman, don't think that if you crawl on my bed, I will marry you. This inferior method doesn't even use the third-rate starlets who only play romantic dramas. Come on, how much money do you want? Xiaomoli said coldly. Smelly hooligan, his mouth is really vicious. Anziki has never been a loser, and she blurted out the ironic words. This gentleman, you are not a person min currency, don't be so cute as you think. Why, don't tell me, you don't like money. Oh, yes, I like money very much. Anziki gritted her teeth and quickly pulled her clothes from one side, putting them on under the cover of the quilt. Then opened his own bag. The irony in Xiaomoli's eyes is self-evident. Is it to find a pen to sign the check? The preparation is really sufficient. Then this stupid woman actually took out 20, looked at it, put it back, and again took out a piece of 5 yuan. Then she threw the $5 to her face fiercely. What a shit, I'm rich too, whether it's good or not, depending on how you feel that you are losing money, I'll pay you the big deal. Anziki finished proudly, and then ran away before Xiaomoli could react. Xiaomoli's face was uncertain. She actually put the 20 yuan back again, so Xiaomoli was only worth 5 yuan? No. It's not a question of money. That stupid woman actually used money to insult him. Outside the room, Anziki and Xiao Yining stared. Mummy, good morning. Xiao Yining. You can tell me clearly, what is going on? Anziki gritted her teeth and looked at the bear boy, really wanting to hang him up and beat him. She obviously only had dinner with Xiao Yining yesterday, and she will show up here. It must be the ghost of this bear kid. You drank too much last night, I will bring you back. Xiao Yining said innocently. How innocent the look was, she felt embarrassed to scold him. Then can you explain why I am in that man's bed? Anziki's forehead jumped straight. He is my daddy, you are my mummy, shouldn't it be right for you to sleep on a bed? Xiao Yining flashed his big eyes, his face was taken for granted. What? Daddy? Anziki collapsed and turned her head to look at Xiaomoli, who walked out of the room. Take a closer look, the exquisite facial features are exactly the same as Xiao Yining, it really is an enlarged version of Xiao Yining. However, this cannot be the reason for him to appear in her bed. My heart collapsed even more. Could it be that this is what he calls the duty of doing everything a mother should do? Including sleeping with his daddy? What's this all about? This bear kid was sent by God to punish her, right? Anziki tugged her hair irritably. How would she explain to him that she couldn't sleep with his father? Xiao Moli listened to the side with a gloomy expression. A cold glance at Anziki, carrying Xiao Yining by the collar, directly carried him into the study. Xiao Yining, you'd better explain to me clearly, what is going on. He is not that idiot woman, so easily fooled by this little bastard. He only had dinner with Yun Yi and the others last night. Even if he drank, he would never have such a relationship with a woman, otherwise so many women who wanted to climb his bed would have succeeded. Xiao Yining stretched out his hand in disgust to tidy up his crumpled collar. In front of Xiao Moli, he no longer pretended to be innocent, and said, the fact is that you slept with her last night and you must be responsible to her. Do you know what I said? Xiao Moli gritted his teeth, and in front of this bear kid, he really couldn't keep calm. Didn't you already think about it? I arranged all of this. With Xiao Yining's calm appearance, Xiao Moli almost wanted to beat him. Thinking of Xiao Yining calling that woman's mommy, she asked with a sullen face, is she that woman? Xiao Yining frowned dissatisfied. She is my mom, please be respectful. Sure enough, it was her, Xiao Moli snorted coldly. Since you found her, you should know that she is just a tool for me to give birth to a child, and if I want this tool, there will be a lot of waves with a wave. Even if you send her to my bed, it won't. It is to serve as a tool to vent your desires again. I will never marry her. Xiao Yining didn't argue, turned around and walked outside the door, speaking lightly. Grandma will never let you marry the woman by Xiner, you still have to die early. He stopped at the door, turned his head to look at Xiao Moli, and said seriously. You may have a lot of tools, but my mommy has only one in her life. No matter what Xiao Moli was after, he left the study without looking back. Xiao Moli was left with a gloomy expression. In the living room, Anziki had already washed herself, and was walking around anxiously. Xiao Moli's posture of cannibalism just now was too scary, she was afraid that the bear child would be beaten. Seeing Xiao Yining coming out, he hurriedly pulled him to check, and after confirming that there was nothing wrong, he exhaled. Well, since you are okay, then I have to go. She didn't want to stay here to face that horrible guy. Hearing her about to leave, Xiao Yining's delicate buns wrinkled together, her small mouth was pressed tightly, and tears flickered in her grape-like eyes. Mommy, do you want me? A little pitiful, afraid of being abandoned. Anziki felt a pain in her heart, and her motherhood was aroused in this way. Even if he was afraid of Xiao Moli, he forgot, stepped forward and picked him up, and said distressedly, why would I not want you? I promised to be your mommy. Well, I knew mommy would never want me. Xiao Yining said with a smile. Nima, is this style of painting changed too quickly? Anziki rolled her eyes speechlessly, and she was calculated by the black-bellied bear child again. Is it too late for me to take back what I said just now? Xiao Yining stretched out her little finger and shook it. Mommy, we signed the contract. If you violate it, you will have to pay me 5 million liquidated damages. Haha, 5 million. Anziki laughed dryly, baby Ning Ning, mommy is just joking with you. I know, mommy can't be naughty anymore in the future. Xiao Yining said with satisfaction. Anziki raised the table in her heart, who on earth is a kid? Xiao Moli walked out of the room in a suit and leather shoes. Seeing the two look like a mother and a filial piety, Anziki glanced contemptuously. This stupid woman treated Xiao Yining as an ordinary child, and even helped count the money after being sold. Moron! After speaking, he turned around and went out. Anziki gritted her teeth and shook her fist at his back. Xiao Yining's belly made a timely grunt, and his big eyes blinked and blinked at Anziki. This bear kid is pitiful for her cuteness. But there is anyway, she doesn't know why, she always has a very strange feeling towards Xiao Yining, can't help but want to get close to him, and feel sorry for him. Anziki loves and hates him with a pinch on his face, puts Xiao Yining down, and resigns to the kitchen to help him make breakfast. Although Xiao Yining caused her a big loss this time, what is wrong with him? He just wants his mother to be loved and a complete family. What was wrong was that shameless stinky rascal. He must have spent the whole day making love to girls. His wife would leave him cruelly, leaving Xiao Yining alone. That woman is not a good thing. She was willing to abandon her newborn son. Anziki thought angrily. I opened the refrigerator and saw that there was only milk and eggs in it, and he frowned slightly. Ning Ning is still young, so he only eats this every day. His father is really irresponsible, and he simply fry a few eggs to make breakfast for him. Xiao Yining sat at the dining table, pinched his chin, and squinted at Anziki who was busy in the kitchen. What's so good about that woman by Xiner? His mommy has a tall face, a good figure, and can cook. I really don't know what his daddy thinks. Is it because that woman is a big star? Xiao Yining's eyes lit up, as if thinking of something. With a kick on his calf, he jumped off the chair, ran to the room and took out a small computer. Anziki came out of the kitchen with the cooked breakfast, and saw Xiao Yining holding a mini notebook, his fingers jumping quickly on the keyboard. Curiously leaned over and took a look. What are you doing? I'm registering you to participate in the Miss City Image pageant. Xiao Yining replied. Puff Anziki squirted out the milk she had just drunk. Xiao Yining took out a piece of paper from the box on the table in disgust, and wiped the milk on the computer. Mummy, you are not an elephant. Spraying things is a very bad hygiene habit. Anziki glared. Wasn't she scared by this bear child? This bear kid dared to dislike her. The point is, why should I participate in the beauty contest? Xiao Yining closed the computer in front of him. A lovely smile appeared on his face. Because you signed a contract with me, you can only listen to me. Since his daddy likes stars, he will promote his mummy as a top star. It's so cute, and what you say for Mao is not cute at all. 10,000 grass mud horses ran across Anziki's heart. Contract, contract, and contract again. How could she have agreed to this bear kid in the first place? Mommy, hurry up and eat. Today is the last day of the pre-selection. I missed the pre-selection. The contract will be added for 10 years. Xiao Yining urged with a smile. Anziki's heart was broken. She knew so deeply what it meant to be a misfortune and hate forever. That's how this bear kid decided her life. After having breakfast, Xiao Yining couldn't help but send Anziki to the TV station where she participated in the pre-selection. Can I choose not? Anziki made the last struggle in the car. The pre-selection failed, 10 years. Xiao Yining watched Anziki get out of the car, then smiled and made a cheering gesture to her. Mommy, come on, I believe you can. Yes, your sister. Anziki has wide noodles in her heart and tears. For her freedom, she had no choice but to turn around and enter the TV station. She had heard of the overwhelming propaganda in S-City for several months before this competition. It is jointly sponsored by Huanyu International Media, JK Entertainment, and several leading companies in this city. It is said that the final champion of the competition is not only likely to sign the two top entertainment companies, Huanyu and JK, but also to become the image spokesperson of those sponsoring companies. Therefore, it has attracted many girls with star dreams from all over the country. There are even some third-line little stars who are in the entertainment circle to participate, wanting to increase their popularity. I really don't know what kind of horrible idea Xiao Yining's spare boy hit. In Hall 2 of the TV station there are already many people waiting in line. Said it is a pre-selection, but in fact it is just the most basic interview of the first round. Some people will be screened out first, and the rest will begin to focus on training etiquette and walking. After receiving the number plate, Anziki went to the side of the corridor and waited quietly. The girls next to each other were chatting excitedly while applying makeup. After touching up the makeup, the wet tissue was still at Anziki's feet. Unziki looked at the litter on the ground and shrugged helplessly. Turned to the corner and took a broom and dustpan to clean. A foot suddenly stepped on the dustpan she was holding, and a sarcasm sounded. "Oh, what cleaner ant I should be! This is not our beautiful college flower." Unziki frowned slightly, and when she looked up, she saw Lin Kellen standing in front of her with her arms folded, her face full of sarcasm. This woman has been having trouble with her when she was in school, always asking her for all sorts of troubles. At that time, she was going to school while still working and earning money. She didn't have the time and energy to take care of him at all. If she could hide, she didn't expect to meet her here today. Today is to participate in the preliminary election, she does not want to cause trouble. He yanked the dustpan harder, but Lin Kellen stepped on harder, and said louder, "When I was in school, I was so poor, why? Now I can't even eat food? Do you want to be a cleaner?" Xiao Tong doglegs behind her added, "A poor person like her, what else can he do besides being a cleaner? Unziki, why don't you clean everyone's shoes here, maybe I will consider rewarding you with a bite of food." Lin Kellen laughed domineeringly. Unziki curled her lips, "Lin Kellen, would you please move your feet? You are too big, my dustpan really can't fit. I just won't move, what can you do with me?" "Ability!" Lin Kellen yelled arrogantly. Halfway through the conversation, I saw the people around me snickering with their mouths, and then I realized that this Unziki dared to mock her as rubbish. His face flushed with anger in an instant. "Unziki, do you dare to scold me? I'm just telling the truth." Unziki raised her eyebrows to look at her. "Wait until I smash your mouth, see if you dare to say that." "Xiao Tong, hold her, don't let her run away!" Lin Kellen roared with a twisted face. Xiao Tong immediately rushed to grab Unziki's two arms, and Lin Kellen raised his hand to hit. The people in the hallway knew that Lin Kellen had deliberately found fault with this incident, but no one came forward to help, and they all waited for a good show. Unziki's helplessness, her unwillingness to cause trouble does not mean she is afraid. Lin Kellen must do it, and she will not sit still. Suddenly turning his head to the side, Lin Kellen slapped loudly on the face of Xiao Tong, who was holding Unziki behind her. Xiao Tong went crazy, but she didn't dare to settle accounts with Lin Kellen, so she could only scream at Unziki. "What's the noise? Get out early if you don't want to participate in the competition." A cold voice suddenly sounded in the corridor. A tall man walked by the entrance, a simple white shirt, perfectly outlined his slender figure. The features are as deep as carvings, and his handsome face has a hint of impatience. "Wow, it's Director Ye Wuj, so handsome. I heard people say that Director Ye was invited to be a judge for this competition, but I didn't expect it to be true. I heard that Dao Ye is preparing for a new movie, do you think he wants to choose the heroine from this competition? You can't be the protagonist, as long as you can show a face in Ye Dao's movie, you can even be a number 2, 3, 4, or 5. The crowd onlookers exclaimed in a low voice, their eyes lit up with excitement. Ye Wuj is a well-known ghost director in China. He is young and talented. There are many actresses in the entertainment industry who squeeze their heads to get his movies, but he always likes to use some newcomers by surprise. And after those newcomers appeared in his movie, they all became popular, and won the prizes. Even if he is only an 18th-rate supporting actress in his movie, it is equally brilliant. They come to participate in the competition simply because they want to enter the entertainment circle. If they can hold the big tree Ye Dao, it is tantamount to getting a pass to the entertainment circle for themselves, and they will have to struggle for at least 10 years. What's more, he is still a handsome, unmarried, rich, and handsome man who does not pay for his life. Lin Kellen saw the incoming person, his eyes lit up, and immediately put down the hand that was about to hit him. With a flattering smile on his face, he hurriedly stepped forward and reached out to Ye Wuj, and said confidently, "Hello, Dao Ye, I am Lin Kellen, the daughter of President Lin of the Chongqing Group." I am glad to meet you. Before he finished speaking, Yadao didn't even look at her, and walked over directly in front of her. Lin Kellen's smile froze on her face and stared at Anziki fiercely. This woman is all to blame. If it weren't for her, she wouldn't let herself leave a bad impression on Yadao. Anziki made a face at her deliberately and deserved it. Seeing the look in Yadao's eyes, he put out his tongue mischievously. Director Yat, you are here. We just received a call and are about to pick you up. Several staff members just walked out of the studio, hurriedly greeted them, and enthusiastically said to Dao Yat. Dao Yat nodded slightly and walked into the studio. From beginning to end, he didn't even give Lin Kellen a look. One of the staff stopped and shouted at the people in the hallway. What are you still waiting for? Number 20,160 to number 20,200, follow me in. Anziki looked at the number plate in her hand and continued to wait in the corridor. Lin Kellen's eyes almost burst into flames when he looked at her, but he was afraid that Yadao would hear something inside, so he didn't dare to step forward and continue to provoke. After waiting in the corridor for nearly a day, Anziki and his group of talents entered the studio under the leadership of the staff. At the forefront of the studio sits a row of judges, each of whom stepped forward to do a simple self-introduction and self-presentation as required. Yadao sat in the left-center position, frowning slightly, and a trace of impatience hung on his face. Looking at the woman who stepped forward, with so many layers of powder on her face, you are acting as a zombie. After finishing speaking, he drew a cross on the information on the table. Do you have a backache or a stomachache in this pose? Go home first for treatment if you are sick. Glamorous cross. The corner of the judge's mouth twitched slightly. It is said that Yadao has a weird temper and a poisonous tongue. According to his request, this beauty contest probably doesn't need to be held anymore. When it was Anziki's turn to play, she did not forcefully follow the pose of the model in those magazine blockbusters like others. After all, they are unprofessional, forcing them to pose in those postures, just like Dongshi's effect, will only make people feel ridiculous and annoying. She just needs to show herself completely. I confidently made a few simple poses that I usually use for taking pictures. There is a simple and brilliant smile on his face without any makeup. The people behind her all looked at her with contempt. It is not enough to be embarrassed to pose such a silly posture in front of the judges. It is strange to be selected. In the judge's seat, Yadao, who had been frowning slightly, his eyes lit up. The plastic surgery industry is too advanced now, and all the women ran to make it like a mold. After looking at the all face with heavy makeup for a whole afternoon, I finally saw a natural one. The delicate goose egg has a bright smile on his face, and his big watery eyes are like the brightest stars in the night sky. Although the smile and posture are silly, but every arc of the facial features is impeccably perfect, beautiful, and not glamorous, which makes people surprised. Before in the hallway, he saw the whole thing. This little girl has a good character and is quite witty. The non-pretentious performance just now made him feel more positive. Dao Ye glanced across the information on the desktop, Anziki. He made a tick on the top, but he cursed mercilessly. When you are taking a selfie. Naive. Anziki quietly spit out her tongue. Compared with the poisonous tongue in the front, this sentence is already mild. Upon seeing this, several judges couldn't help but look at Anziki a few more times. Yadao passed, and they certainly won't have any objections. When the judge in the middle said congratulations for passing, Anziki quietly breathed a sigh of relief. But the bear kid said that the pre-selection could not be passed, and the contract would be increased by 10 years. Those behind who originally despised her were jealous and resentful. Does this work? What is the look in the judge's eyes? After the judges gave the training time, Anziki smiled and thanked him, and then quit the studio. As soon as I walked out of the door of the TV station, the phone rang. I took out the phone and saw Ning Ning's name displayed on it. Before he could pick it up, he bumped into someone. Anziki was about to apologize. Anziki, do you still dare to hit me and die? Lin Kellen led Xia Xiaotong in front of her. I thought Anziki was a cleaner, but I didn't expect that she would also come to the beauty pageant. What's even more hateful is that she made his father spend a lot of effort to clear the relationship before passing the preliminary election. Just like Anziki, she passed the pre-selection so smoothly. Lin Kellen, get out of the way, I have something to do now, I don't have the time to watch you mess around here. Anziki frowned. Lin Kellen had already finished the interview and was waiting for her here on purpose. Hey, I still want to run after scolding? If you don't let you kneel down and apologize to me today, I am not Lin Kellen. Lin Kellen said angrily. If it weren't for Anziki, she wouldn't have left a bad impression on Yadao today, let alone make a fool of herself in front of so many people. He lifted his foot and kicked at Anziki fiercely. Anziki raised her eyebrows and glanced at the direction behind her, but she stood still and didn't move. Lin Kellen was proud to see that she did not dare to dodge, and now it was too late to show weakness. Before she touched her, her body was suddenly caught by a violent force, and she slammed aside. Lin Kellen screamed and fell to the ground. When I looked up, I saw a man in black standing in front of her with a cold face. Respectfully said to Anziki, "Missin, young master is waiting for you across the street." Anziki nodded, did not look at Lin Kellen on the ground, turned and walked towards the black Porsche across the road. "Anziki, you bitch, stop for me!" Lin Kellen yelled angrily when she saw Anziki was leaving. As soon as the voice fell, 2 clear slaps sounded. Lin Kellen was holding her aching face in disbelief. She was first thrown to the ground and then beaten in the face. When she grew up, when did she suffer such humiliation? I wanted to tear Anziki to pieces immediately, but when I saw number 1 with a bad face in front of him, I could only stare at Anziki fiercely. Number 1 reached out and pressed the headset that had been hanging on her ears, and there seemed to be orders coming from inside. I saw him respectfully replied yes, and then looked at Lin Kellen condescendingly and said coldly, "My young master asked me to tell you that if you hear those 2 words next time, you won't have to speak again."